My name is GeeXella. My pronouns are they, them, and theirs. And I'm thinking about a time, trying to think of a time where I felt like I broke down barriers in the trans community. I definitely think it was when I created Duval Folks. So Duval Folks is a dance party that I created in 2018. I was in a space where I was DJing in, gay clubs, and it just wasn't feeling right. It wasn't feeling good. I wasn't feeling affirmed. It was really hard to get my friends to come there. It was really hard for my friends to feel safe there. I felt very micromanaged just by like the type of music that I had to play and everything. And so one thing that I thought of was just like, okay, what would it look like to imagine a night where it was centered around like BIPOC bodies, where it was centered around like uplifting organizations in my community that were doing direct action movement work. And so I wanted to create that, and I did that. Duval Folks was birthed in 2018, also in response to a lot of trans violence that was happening in our community. Trans folks, Black trans women were not feeling safe, gender nonconforming Black folks were not feeling safe because Jacksonville at the time was the epicenter for trans violence and gendered violence. And so I think creating that space for me felt like I just wanted our bodies to feel good. I wanted a place for us to celebrate each other and give each other flowers while we were all still living and still there, and try to educate our community on what was happening and letting them know that we're in this space, but we can take up this space and we can take care of each other. Something else that like really gave me that wow moment when it came to uplifting my trans community was the year after Duval Folks in 2019. I performed at Pride. And my friend, BB Deluxe, who's another amazing trans woman in my community, was running a little late. So I kind of had to like keep the show going. And I was at Pride all day, and it was also the 50th anniversary for Stonewall. And I just remember being in that space, and I don't even know what came over me. I don't know. I say it was the ancestors that day, but I just remember not hearing Marsha P. Johnson's name lifted. I remember not hearing Silva Rivera's name lifted that day. And so I saw a lot of my the youth that I worked with at the time, because I worked at the LGBT center, they wanted to come on stage and they weren't allowing my youth on the stage. And I just came into this space where I was just like, listen, if you are not Black, if you are not brown, I need you to get off the stage, because these young people need to be on the stage. These trans, these gender nonconforming, these gender expansive young people need to be in the front. And so I let them know, listen, if you're not someone who's of that experience, I need all my Black and brown people to come to the front. And it really shook the table. It really made a lot of people upset, but at the same time, my community felt so seen. I had young people after that event crying at me, telling me like how important that moment was, how beautiful that moment was. Folks DMing me, and DMing me like how empowered they felt, how beautiful they felt. And for me, I just felt like as a DJ, as a musician, I always try to use my platform to uplift marginalized communities and speak my mind, because we don't have folks that are doing that look like me. And so I just wanted to use that space to uplift that. And I got in trouble, but what people who make history don't get in trouble. I had the cops coming at me telling me that I'm causing a riot. And I just kept going. I kept it pushing. And it just felt like, wow, this is really like what I'm meant to do. This is really important to me. Using music, using DJing as a tool to advocate for my community, and using my music and my platform as a space to speak what is going on in my community, because they pay attention to folks, that are doing music, that are quote unquote like up there in the limelight. And so I want to use my platform to highlight that and to talk about that. A time that I felt, I would say, most happy and most joyful, my last Duval Folks party that I had. We're still living through quarantine, but it was outside. It was in a museum, one of the fine arts museums here in town. And at that time, there also was a Black or an African non-binary artist who was emerged in that space. And it just felt like, wow, like also like a wow, like I can't believe I'm here moment. but also I just felt so much joy just seeing my people. I hadn't seen my people in a whole year and a half, and to see Black and brown and indigenous and POC folks taking up space in that museum was just, I can't even explain like how proud I was of myself. And as someone who identifies as a Capricorn, that is not something that I do often where I congratulate myself and am proud of myself. But I was in that space where I was just like, I feel happy. I feel joy. I see smiles. I see my people like looking so good because the girls showed out. They showed out. And it just made me so happy because it just made me think about, why I created this and why I did this is just so my people can take up space. My people can be here. They can be queer. They can be trans. They can be all the things that they wanted to be, and this dance space did that. And I love that that moment happened for me because it doesn't come often where I congratulate myself or tell myself that I did that. If I could give my 13-year-old self some advice, I think I would just tell first of all, I would just let my 13-year-old self know that my body is perfect and my body is beautiful. At 13, you don't need to be worrying about that. You need to be thinking about, like, what do you want to be in life? And know that you can be anything that your heart desires, you can do. And don't be worried about, things that you can't control. And like validating my body, validating my hair, my skin, my everything, because it was really hard, growing up in the South, not seeing, we didn't have language around like Afro Latina. We didn't have, those types of things that we were talking about. So I think I would just affirm myself as like a Black, like Mexican person. Something that I definitely want folks to get from my story is that you can do it. And as as like small as that is of a statement, I think it's something that I don't tell myself enough is just that you can do it. Whatever you want to do, like you can do it. I taught myself how to DJ. I taught myself naturally how to create like a party. I faked it till I make it. My first gig that I had as a DJ, I had only been DJing like a couple of weeks. So I was like, yeah, I can DJ in the club. Yeah, totally have done that before. And I think, now, I'm in a space where it's like, yeah, I really did that. I taught myself how to DJ. I taught myself how to do all the things that I did. And I think a lot of that comes from like my lineage, my family, they're migrant workers. My family escaped Jim Crow, moved to Chicago to find a better space. And I think we don't have enough people telling us that we can do it. And whatever it is you want to do, whether it's music, whether it's healthcare, whether it's a lawyer, whether it's whatever, it's possible. Your dreams are possible. And there's not enough people telling each other that. So I definitely want to say that's something that I want to want folks to get from my story. Some of my biggest dreams for the future, I think it's just creating more BIPOC spaces in the South. I think if I really had to think that big, I think just curating more spaces where trans folks feel safe, creating more and building more spaces where gender nonconforming people can skill up together, can share space together, can have joy together. I think that is just my biggest dream, is to create more spaces where BIPOC, queer, and trans folks just feel uplifted and feel heard and feel seen, and feel like they can just share space together. For me, what being seen and heard as a trans person looks like, I think it looks like my people being free. I think it is important to be seen, but I want to see everybody. I want to see us all, the most marginalized of folks, my incarcerated folks, my undocumented folks. I want to see all my trans Latinx siblings at freedom. And I think that is something that I'm thinking about and things that I'm trying to move towards and build up, is thinking about how I can see us all there.